everyone. So, as you can probably tell, I just got back from work. I just took a shower. Anyway, I'm all cozy right now in my sweater with the junk behind me. It's fine. It's fine. It's not mine. It's my sister's. Anyway, so I am about ready to open up that laptop over there. That laptop is already open, but I'm about to go pull up the draft for my first book in my YA fantasy series. I've been letting it rest for the past 2 months. Actually, I have not touched it. Okay, so I did touch draft one. I did read through draft one because I ended up sending it out to some of my writer buddies just for fun. We exchanged first chapters. Other than that, beyond draft one, I have not looked, read, or edited anything else from that draft. And I think we're on draft 3 of that book so far. So I am preparing to read through this draft for the first time in 2 months in order to prepare for draft 4, getting ready to edit it. I'm going to take you over here where the lighting's going to be way worse, so I apologize. Without further ado, I'm going to pull up this draft and we're going to start taking some notes. And I guess before I start, maybe I should have done this when I was back over there with the good lighting. But anyway, I'm not going to. I'm comfy here. I'm sitting down. I've been standing all day. I know for sure before I pull up this draft even that there are some things that I am going to need to work on. Specifically, like the whole last half of the book. Just because I feel like I'm not getting as much impact as I could with the plot specifically. I feel like since I'm an underwriter, I feel like I really need to describe more, one, with the setting overall, and then two, especially that last half of the book, and specifically the climax, that needs to be described a lot more, I think, so that there's more of a sense of a payoff, if that makes sense. Because right now the scene seems a little bit rushed, and I know for sure that I'm going to need to make some adjustments to that. I know chapter 15 is probably one of my maybe my longest chapter in this book, and I know there's going to be a lot to work on. I might end up actually having to split it into 2 chapters. I don't know. And then another thing that I can foresee potentially being a problem before I even begin this read-through is right now, my first chapter is not from the point of view of my main character. It's actually from the point of view of the mentor character, Gassan, and while we do have flashbacks from like 15 years ago with his point of view, we don't actually see his point of view at any other point in this series, in this book. And so I'm not sure. I may end up just deleting that first chapter entirely. And I have a prologue right now from my main character's point of view. It's only like a page long. So I may end up deleting the first chapter with the mentor character's point of view and then just taking that prologue and expanding it into a full chapter 1 and trying to include the same world building information that's necessary and just doing that. So that's something I have been considering. I don't know. I guess I'll find out if that's necessary or not once I do this read-through. My dog's barking. Alright, so I am just getting ready to pull up all of this. So actually what I realized I did, which was, and even you can see the last edit was May 3rd, but that was just for chapter 1. Anyway, I just realized what I did. So actually I started doing draft 3, but I only made it to chapter 15. There's actually like 20 chapters plus one more interlude that I never got around to doing a draft 3 of. So I'm going to read through this draft 3 up until chapter 15, then go back to draft 2 to read the rest of the chapters that I never actually edited to draft 3. Anyway, that's funny. So, yeah, we're going to get going. Okay, so I just finished reading through chapter 3. I don't think 2 months was nearly enough time to let it rest because well, I guess to be fair, I am currently working on drafting book 2, so I am always thinking back to what happened in book 1 to make sure it's consistent. So I guess I would have liked to maybe have let it rest for even more time so I could have a better, fresher mindset reading it, but it is what it is. I really don't want to spend more time letting it rest. I just want to get going on this and just finish it. Anyway, so only 3 chapters in. It's good. I've noticed a lot of places where I can include some world building. And at first I was kind of worried, like, oh my goodness, where am I going to be able to fit world building in without, info dumping? How am I going to make sure how am I going to rearrange my chapters or whatever? So luckily there's already some world building opportunities built in to the words I have right now, which is good. And since I use Google Docs to write and everything, I'll go ahead and highlight and then leave a comment for each little section. Oh, world building opportunity or whatever. So that's nice. That being said, I am noticing so far, beyond the world building, there's a lot of little, just certain lines and paragraphs that I just need to clean up, delete some filler words, or switch some words around to just make it easier to understand. And while that isn't, as, I guess, concerning as if it was big structural edits or whatever, at least I'm not having to, so far, do a whole rehaul of a total chapter or change chapters around, insert some, take some out. So far, it's not too much of that. It's mostly just little, almost line edits at this point, which is nice. But as I'm going through and reading, and then also, oh my gosh, this lighting is so inconsistent. I'm sorry. As we're going through and reading and I'm making all my comments, it's just going to be so tedious. I'm not really looking forward to editing this. Again, it could be worse. At least it's not like big scary edits, but it's just, I know it's going to take, I guess it won't even take that much time. I just don't want to do it. It's not fun edits. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now, but I'll check back in with you guys after I've gotten more progress in. Oh my goodness, you guys. So I just had the best epiphany, I guess. So I was reading through chapter 5 of my draft, and one of the things that I thought I needed to include, that I thought I needed to work on still, was I realized I hadn't really had any of my characters state the theme of the story. And typically, when you have a character going through a character arc, you kind of want that theme or the lesson they're going to be learning to be stated at some point. It doesn't have to be explicitly or whatever, but you want it to be in there to kind of foreshadow their progress, the lesson they're going to be learning as they're going throughout the story. So that was something that I had kind of, was meaning to keep my eye open for. But I just discovered a line of dialogue that actually literally just spells out exactly what the theme of this book is. And up at this point in chapter 5, when I'd first written it, I hadn't actually really nailed down the character arc for my main character. This was still me kind of getting to know my characters at this point. So this line of dialogue is completely natural to the story. It's a natural progression of a conversation that's already happening. And so it's just so great because this means I have one less thing to worry about. I don't have to worry about finding a way to state the theme. So yeah, that was a happy little discovery there. Anyway, it's like 8:10 or something p.m. right now. So I am going to go back to reading, maybe read maybe a chapter or 2 more before bed. And then I'm probably not going to vlog that because, as you can see, the lighting is already terrible right now and it's just going to get worse from here on. So anyway, I will get back to you guys tomorrow. Alright, so it is a new day, you guys. It is officially the 2nd of June. I actually have the goal to finish this read through by June 3rd, which I don't think is going to be too hard since I'm already on chapter 8. I have 20 chapters in total plus some interludes, so I'm almost about halfway through already, and that was only having read for like a few hours last evening. So I'm gonna get going on this. I don't really have too much more to say. I'm just gonna pick up where I left off, and I'll let you guys know if I have any more interesting or exciting epiphanies or things I know I'm gonna need to work on. Alright, you guys, so it is the next day. Whoa, my hand was really shaky there. Sorry, I'll try to be still. It's the next day. I did end up finishing my read-through last evening on the 2nd of June, but I ended up having family time, eating family dinner, hanging out, so I didn't really feel like filming an outro video, but here we are now. I'm just going to take this time to kind of give you guys, I guess, a little bit of a rundown on my thoughts overall as I read through my draft again. Probably thought number one is it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, which is always a pleasant surprise. There were some things I was worried about, specifically, you know, little things like, oh, is this enough of the aesthetic that I'm looking for or whatever, and I felt like it did come across fairly well. Of course, there's always things I can change, and that'll just come more as I'm adding more depth to the setting in this next round of edits, but for what it is right now, it's not bad. I'm gonna pull up a chair because my arm's getting tired. So yeah, that was good. I found a lot of different places where I could insert more setting, world building things, which is good. A lot of it, again, as I was saying before, a lot of it is still just cleaning up certain paragraphs and certain lines, making it easier to read, etc., etc., especially fight scenes. It was good that I took this 2 months because while I still remember main plot points, obviously being the writer, I did kind of forget how I'd specifically written out the fight scenes. So I was able to reread those kind of with a fresher mindset. And that was good because, again, those were not as bad as I thought they were going to be either. And I felt like they were still fairly easy to understand. Of course, there are some sentences even there that I could clean up and all that. But for what it was, again, not too bad. What else? Sorry, the lighting just is not improving at all throughout this video. I use natural light, so the weather's just been really inconsistent lately, and it's just not the best. But anyway, we're gonna roll with it. So beyond that, there was a scene. There was a scene that I, at one point, was considering moving to a part later on in the story, because I thought the discussion that these two characters have, the conversation they have, I thought it would fit better with the main character's arc if it was later in the story. And as I was rereading, I actually really like the convo where it is there. I think it's necessary to kind of show the growth of these two characters' relationship. But, of course, there does still need to be a little something else later on in the story where I was originally intending to move it to. So I think I'm going to do kind of a continuation of that convo, touching on some of the same topics they talked about earlier, but I'm just going to have them go more in depth with a particular topic in that place that I was originally considering moving it to. I'm just going to add in like another conversation or something. And I found an area that I think I'll be able to do that without hopefully having to change too much of the chapter itself. Hopefully I'll be able to just kind of add it in there without reworking it too much. So that's good. I think once I add that scene, that's gonna make my main character, Jasir, I think it's gonna make Jasir's character arc a lot better and more fulfilling overall to read about. The climax actually was pretty good, if I do say so myself. No, obviously there's still a lot to change about it, but it wasn't bad for the draft that I was at, and I think it actually was described pretty well, because at first, I was kind of concerned that I wasn't describing enough and there wasn't going to be enough of a payoff, but I thought there actually was. I thought it was, of course, I could add more description in certain areas. There are places where I need to add more internal character monologue just to kind of cement the end of his character arc, if that makes sense. But beyond that, there's not too much more I really do need to add to the climax in terms of fleshing it out to make it longer and more interesting to read. There are elements that I am gonna have to add and tweak. Anyway, to sum up all of this, most of the edits I caught are going to be world building, as well as just cleaning up certain sentences and paragraphs, descriptions, making them easier to read and understand. There are some places in the middle of the story where I think I need to do a better job at evoking a sense of place. So that, because it is a travelogue and so they're constantly on the move, and so just making sure that I make each of the settings, the places they're having all these conversations and stuff, visceral to the reader. Yeah, beyond that, those are the main things, and then obviously adding in that little convo near the end, the part 2 of that convo previously that happens earlier on, just adding that. And I think, that's about all that I can personally catch as the writer, because no amount of time spent away from this novel is going to be able to give me the feeling of a reader reading through this, discovering this story, discovering these characters for the very first time. It's just something I'm not going to be able to capture because I am the writer. I know what's happening. I know these characters. I already know the main plot points in my head, and it's going to be hard to forget all of that no matter how much time I spend away. So beyond the edits I've caught here during this read through, I think the rest is just going to have to be up to my beta readers and my lovely critique partner, and just kind of touching base with them, sending them, probably with my critique partner, I'll probably end up sending her some of my more difficult chapters first, just to kind of get her opinion on it, and then after that I'll hopefully have like a somewhat polished draft to send to beta readers and get their feedback on it as someone who doesn't know about the story the way I do as a writer, if that makes sense. I say that a lot, I realize, if that makes sense. I hope it makes sense, probably because I'm a very confusing person and my mind goes everywhere and there's no specific direction to it. Anyway, so yeah, that's gonna be it for this editing vlog. I hope you all enjoyed seeing me struggle, seeing the process of me going through and editing. Maybe in the future I was thinking of maybe doing a video where I talk about my tools that I use for writing, so my writing programs and the methods I use to edit and to outline and things like that. So comment down below and let me know if you'd be interested in seeing something like that, or seeing something else editing related, if you would like to see more editing vlogs or writing vlogs or outlining vlogs. I think all of those would be really fun to do, and I'm probably going to do them anyway, but let me know which one you'd like to see first, I guess. Alright, so I will see you all next time. Bye!